like many people, I guess, that have been on a spiritual path, I've learned that the stories that have kept me limited and kept me believing that I was a certain thing or not a certain thing are all wrong. They're all wrong, making me feel like there's something wrong with me. No, 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 no. Delete, 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 delete. I can't even feel that anymore, but I've
Yeah.
gone through my whole life feeling those things. I've also learned, and this is a big one, and it's hard for people to do. And I'm so personally excited that I have done the work to get here. And I really encourage my clients to work this one, which is
Hey, everyone. Let's start healing. I'm Adrianne Murchison, and welcome to episode 161 of the Let's Start Healing podcast. We have more in common than we think, and what we have in common can change the world. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode that I'm bringing to you. My guest is a returning guest, Reiki healer, energy healer, Mindy Strich. And we just have a great conversation. We are talking about the idea and concept around resistance, the idea around space. And she brings up something else that I thought was so rich as well. And that is being comfortable with what we don't know, being comfortable with the unknown. So it is a really, really good conversation. And I'm not going to delay bringing it to you. I just want to ask you to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already to Let's Start Healing. Like the episode, please share Let's Start Healing with at least one person that you know. So let's get to it. Let's meet Mindy. Let's get started and let's start healing. Welcome, Mindy.
thank you, Adrian. Nice to see you again.
It's great to see you. And I'm so happy that we are going to talk about this topic. It is very intriguing.
I
Resistance,
agree. It intrigues
resistance.
me every day.
It intrigues you every day. Resistance and
Every
space.
day.
Yes, yes. And I think about the same things, so it's really simpatico. It's something that you brought this up to me. Why what has made this be on your heart and mind so much right now?
It's not just right now. It's been a process, right? It's all the process, right? I think my first awareness of it was during the pandemic. I live by myself, and like all of us, we all struggled with a lot of things that were coming up during that time. And I was in a place where I didn't know what was going to happen with my business. I had just broken up with somebody I was dating. So I was isolated. And I was really, really lonely and in a very low place. And I was going into that like dark night of the soul place. And I couldn't get myself out of it because there was no connection to the outside world. And so I just kept sinking lower and lower. And one night, I don't know, it was really not anything that I was planning on happening, but I actually sat in my living room, Adrian, and I turned all the lights off in my house. And I sat in my chair and I just said, okay, I can't do this anymore. Loneliness, come get me. Like, tell me, what do I need to do to get out of this place? And instead of resisting all of these hard feelings that were coming up for so long, I actually just became very present to it and literally sat there with my loneliness in the dark.
Yes.
And something just opened up inside of me. It was like finally becoming present to it instead of resisting it, just expanded something inside of me. And for the first time in what felt like months, I just felt this lightness appear. And heard, I got the message that the one thing that never left me alone in my whole life was my loneliness. Like it was always there for me. So this wasn't something that was happening during the pandemic. This was an old story that had been with me for my whole life that was trying to present itself. And as often happens, the more we push those things away, the further away we are from being able to, first of all, see where they're really coming from. And second of all, really get the lesson or the guidance or the message that we need to move forward. So that's where it all started. And then I've just been continually intrigued and very aware of, okay, what am I resisting in my life? And what, because you could feel it in your body.
Absolutely.
You can feel it, whether it's I'm resisting the fact that I'm on hold for an hour waiting for Comcast to get on the phone and straighten out my bill, or, I'm not happy in my job. I'm not happy in my relationship. I'm nervous about this spot on my breast and what's the doctor going to say? All of these things, we all feel it in our body, but instead of connecting with our body and finding the wisdom there, we push it away or we make it something bad or negative, and we miss the point.
I
And
completely
as
agree.
soon as we do, at least for me and what I share with my clients too, and I know it takes patience, but the more we go into that feeling instead of resisting it, the more something opens up. And that's where the answers and the solutions come from.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it's a process. I'm with you 1000%. I think it's such a process because I really relate to the loneliness part. And I think all my life, I had two older brothers, but they were older brothers. They were
Uh-huh.
5 and 6 years older than me. So I felt alone because I was so much younger and I was the only girl. And then, I have a lot of friends, but I used to feel like I didn't make friends easily. And I just felt like I was a little different. And so I just felt, as a young adult, I felt lonely. I felt lonely in relationships. I completely relate to what you're saying. And it's my spirituality that has helped me to not be lonely. And then I realized also, I would say around 2017, I just came to this awareness, especially with relationships for me, that that lonely feeling, that only spirit can feel that for me. Only God can, like, even in a wonderful relationship, I still, that can't fill me up 1,000%. God can fill me up 1,000%. So it's been such a process.
Yes. And, you know, we could have a whole podcast on what is God. We all look at, that
Yeah.
definition differently.
Whatever's divine, whatever that
Right.
divine
And
entity is.
it's connecting to that godly place inside of us too.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That is inside of us. That's what I'm connecting to. I'm connecting to what I call God, what somebody else might call universe or spirit. I'm connecting to that inside of me. And that's where I feel the fulfillment.
Right.
And yeah, but
Fast forward now for me. So when was the pandemic? 4 years ago? I don't know. I lose track of time. after that, I had a friend living with me for 3 years. She was in a situation where she wasn't doing well financially. So I invited her to come stay with me. And I thought, oh, that's going to help my loneliness. I'll help her out. I'll help out my friend, and I'll have a roommate. So that'll be great. And there were things that were great with it, but it still wasn't fulfilling. She moved to Oregon she got a job in Oregon, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be lonely again. That thought came up, but no. I must have done some really good deep work, because when she left, and this was just a few months ago, instead of that projection of loneliness that I thought I was going to feel, because I did a lot of that work and found that God inside me and that connection to spirit, I've never felt so free. I've been living by myself again since June or July, but I don't feel lonely at all. I just feel, do I want a relationship? Sure, that would be great. Order up, universe. I'm fine with it, but I don't need it. I feel totally full inside of me. And
That's the
that's the
truth.
difference between being alone and feeling what I refer to as solitude. There's a difference between, you could live by yourself, you could be alone and not with a lot of people. And if you can transcend that loneliness into solitude, that's where I feel like I could really connect to God in that place. And I'm so grateful. Every single night when I come home, it's like a deep breath, because I get to be in that space of just connecting to that. And it's,
Yeah. And talk about also how, at least I think that it's okay, to say I feel lonely. I said that earlier this week. The early part of this week was rough for me. Uh this week during the month of January is the anniversary of 3 losses in my family. So the early part of the week, I was just really feeling a lot of just angst and sadness and everything. And actually just before maybe an hour ago, I started realizing how I'm feeling better. I'm feeling lighter. And even though I'm in the heart of the days of these losses, but
right.
I I remember walking my dog a few days ago and, just acknowledging I feel lonely. I feel sad, just, letting myself feel what I feel, just what you were saying earlier.
I think that's so important, to acknowledge that and be honest and authentic about it, and not, again, we try to push it away so many times. People will, you'll say, how are you? And people will say, I'm fine, when they're really not fine, but they don't feel comfortable sharing their feelings for a
Yeah.
multitude of reasons. But those feelings don't go away just because you're not expressing it. And I think there's something very valuable in being able to express how you feel, because you have to release it. But
Yes.
instead of, it's not about dwelling on our feelings. It's about acknowledging them with love and compassion. So if you're feeling lonely, feel lonely, and give yourself that time to really check in with yourself. Like, where are you feeling it in your body? See, we
Mhm.
go to our head all the time. We need to, like, get out of our heads, literally get out of our heads and go into our body. So if you feel, well, like when you felt lonely about these losses, where did you feel it in your body?
Oh, yeah, I always feel it in my midsection, like since I was a child. And then if it's there's times I can feel it in my heart, just feel like just really heavy, heavy hurt, but it's in one of those two places that I
Right.
really feel it.
Those are the two popular places. So if we just give ourselves the grace and take the time to just, sit with your heart, sit with your abdomen, and really connect and touch yourself with love and compassion, it opens up that channel for you to release that,
Yes.
let yourself feel lonely and connect with your heart, and and ask it, what do
Yeah.
you need from me?
Hmm. I love that.
What do
I
you
love
need
that.
from me? You'll
Yes.
get an answer. You'll get an answer. I need love. I need time. I need a hug. And even if you don't get an answer, your body's still going to feel better.
Right. Right.
And then it's from that opening. I think I told you this when we spoke on the phone last week. For me, I always get this visual when we're in resistance or we're ignoring those feelings. It's like twisting a hose. The water can't flow if you twist that hose. Nothing's going to flow through.
Exactly.
But as soon as you like touch your heart or you touch your abdomen, what you've done is you've untwisted that hose. And
Yes.
now energy can flow through, so you could feel better. Your body's going to feel better. You're going to feel lighter.
Yeah.
And you're
And I,
not holding all of that loneliness.
yeah, I think that as humans, we have a tendency to think, oh, if I focus on that, it'll feel worse and I'll never feel better. But it's the opposite, actually.
It's the opposite. In the absence of resistance, we create miracles.
Hmm.
When we keep resisting that because of what we think, we're just creating more pain.
Yes.
It is the opposite. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. I love how something I brought up to you when we were on the phone. First of all, where I am right now is I'm starting to try to check in with myself when I feel some agita against somebody. If I feel some frustration, I've been saying to myself, well, what good is this doing? And can I release this? Am I willing to release this? Because is this helping me at all to with anybody? It could be somebody close to me, it could be a casual acquaintance. I'm just thinking, what good does it do me to think of, someone in a negative way? Now, I am human and, there's some people I'm just going to feel some way about, but, where I feel something weighing on me, I've been thinking about that. And when I brought that up to you on the phone, how, there was somebody I was bringing up that, I just felt this frustration with, and I was considering forgiving and letting that frustration go. And you mentioned, I believe, loving the frustration, sort of like honoring where I am. Is that what you meant?
Yeah. Yeah. We should love every part of us. Of course, we've all been conditioned as human beings that we have negative emotions like frustration or anger. And a lot of people don't want to go there. So because they just don't want to process those feelings. So they just ignore it, or you get frustrated with your frustration, you get angry at your anger, or you get angry at the person or frustrated at the person.
Yes.
But right, your frustration is every much a part of you as your fingers, your nose, your lungs. It's part of you. It's your frustration. So the worst thing that we could do is bring more frustration into ourselves, because then you're just perpetuating that. But if you sit with your frustration, either like what I was saying before, just you can close your eyes and visualize, like, what does your frustration look like? What does your
Mhm.
frustration feel like? Let it become material and physical. You'll
Exactly.
get an image of it. Don't judge it, because everything is on this planet for a reason.
Mhm.
Whether it's vegetables or vanilla ice cream or computers or the internet, everything serves a purpose. So does frustration and anger. There's a deeper message in there. But if you're constantly frustrated, it's not going to, the real deeper message is not going to get through.
Right.
So
Right.
if you just allow your frustration to sit and talk to you,
Mm-hmm.
and you can do that through journaling also, you know,
Yeah.
you get, I mean, that's what happened to me with the loneliness. Like I was blown away, Adrianne, when, you know, here I was so lonely for so long. And even before the pandemic, I had many times in my life that I was lonely, like you said, you were as well. But I never heard the message, like, girl, I've been with you your whole life. You know, you've never been alone. I've always been here with you. Well, it was just mind blowing to me.
Yes. Yes.
And so if we just allow ourselves to just flip the story a little bit and see things from a different perspective, then we are going to open up the opportunity not only to release that frustration, but to find answers that have always been there.
Yeah.
But we look at it like this instead of, you know,
What have you learned about yourself as a result of doing that?
I've learned, that's a great question. Um, like many people, I guess, that have been on a spiritual path, I've learned that the stories that have kept me limited and kept me believing that I was a certain thing or not a certain thing are all wrong. They're all wrong. I've learned, you know, I mean, like, you know, my mind in the past would have said, this is my story, I'm lonely. I would be what I would call a little bit of a victim, like, why me, why can't I have that? You know, looking at other couples or people that seem happy and wanting it so much and making me feel like there's something wrong with me. No, 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 no. Delete, 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 delete. I can't even feel that anymore, but I've
Yeah.
gone through my whole life feeling those things. I've also learned, and this is a big one, and it's hard for people to do. And I'm so personally excited that I have done the work to get here. And I really encourage my clients to work this one, which is, I don't have to figure anything out. I've learned to be okay with the unknown. I've
Mhm.
learned that not only have I learned to surrender, but I enjoy it. I've learned that not only don't I need to be in control, I don't want to be in control.
Yes. Yes.
That's a big one. It's like, oh, okay, this is something I need to let go of.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Let me give it over to you, universe. I don't need this anymore. Oh my God, talk about a weight being lifted.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big one for me. You know, when sometimes if I get in a spiral, I'm like, or if I get really worried about something, I'll say, wait, I'm trying to control the situation. And, you know, my blessings come from something beyond me. You know, they don't come from me controlling it. My miracles don't happen that way. They don't come
No,
from me. No,
just the
no.
opposite. Again, going back to
Yeah.
resistance. It's like we think that we have to control something because if something gets out of control, it'll be chaotic and we won't be able to handle it. So we try to, you know, prevent something from happening by taking control of it. It's There's nothing in our lives that we're really in control of, and even if you have a temporary um, time where things seem to be in control, it doesn't last. It's not
Yeah.
a long-term fix.
Yeah.
We really need to learn how to just trust and surrender.
Yeah. I had mentioned to you in my email that a friend had introduced this to me. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but he introduced this to me several years ago, the Sedona Method. And first of all, it's about letting things be as they are. And so there's like these tools, and the lines are, can I let this go? Whatever it is, can I let this go? Would I let this go? Or will I let this go? If so, when? And so for me, I equated that with willingness. So I started using the words, can I let this go? Am I willing to let this go? And if I say, yes, I'm willing to let this go, then that alone brings a little bit of release. That brings a little bit of shift. If I just say I'm willing to,
Mm-hmm.
and then if so, then when? Well, now I'm willing. I can let this go. I'm willing to let this go now. And that has made such a difference for me.
Yeah, I've not heard the Sedona effect. Is that what you said?
The Sedona Method.
It's the
The
Sedona Method.
Sedona Method. If you don't mind, I want to just share something with you, because what I did was, years ago, the guy, I can't think of his name, I went and looked up this person on YouTube. And so he had these videos from these workshops from the 90s. And so I thought a few of them were powerful. And one of them, I wrote down in my journal, like his whole exercise, which I'm not going to read, but I want to read one little paragraph for you.
Yeah,
and
great.
So what it is, it's about releasing and letting go of control. And I've used it at the end of relationships to help me process pain. And so it's really about two people trying to control each other, and acknowledging that, and acknowledging both of what you were trying to do, and acknowledging and honoring, the love, the divine love inside of each other. And
Okay.
so this is just a few lines. Did this person, and I put it in present tense. Did this person try to control me, or did it feel that way? Can I find the me that was being controlled? Was this person wanting to control personal on their part towards me? Did I try to control them, or did it appear that way? Can I find that part of me that was trying to do that in the essence of me?
Hmm.
Can I find within me that there is already a granting spiritually for that person to be just as they are, and for me to be just as I am? Just for now, can I notice that there is no controller and no control-e? There is only one. There is no you and no them. That's what the facilitator was saying. There's just what is, that we superimposed on a story that was not real to begin with. And then he said, and did I dislike this person or disapprove of anything in this person? Can I find within me the one who dislikes or disapproves? And then it goes on and on.
Mm-hmm.
But you get the point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's been so powerful for me. I've even sent it to friends when they were going through things.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. I had something that I was going to share too. I just finished doing a 21-day manifestation program with Gabby Bernstein, which was wonderful.
I get her emails. I'm on her newsletter, I think.
Yeah, I love her. I haven't gotten her new book, but on one of the days she talked about surrender, and she commented on this prayer that I wrote down, and now I say it every morning. Today I surrender my goals and plans to the care of the universe. I offer up my agenda and accept spiritual guidance. I trust that there is a plan far greater than mine. I know that where there once was lack and limitation, there are now spiritual solutions and creative ideas. I step back and let love lead. Thy will be done.
That's beautiful. And you wrote that.
No, Gabby Brooks.
She wrote that. That's beautiful. That's very beautiful. It's
I just
surrender.
loved it, and when I read it every morning before I get out of bed, and it just makes me feel like I'm setting the day up. Like, okay, thy will be done. I surrender my
Absolutely.
agenda to you. I don't have to control anything. Let's just go. Let's see
Yeah.
how the day goes.
And then things work out.
Things work out. Yes, they're much lighter and much more peaceful, but let's be honest, there are things that, somebody cuts you off at traffic, you get a phone call you weren't expecting, you know, you we're human. Things are going
Mhm.
to happen that feel like they don't work out in the moment. Sometimes they're small and sometimes they're serious. But if we can keep our intention on, okay, what's happening in this moment, where am I resisting, where am I not surrendering, what can I let go of, then I think we just flow through those times easier. It does not mean that there's not going to be hard times or times where you're going to not where you're never going to feel lonely again, or you're never going to feel frustrated again. But by looking and processing those feelings in a different way, you're not piling on the 40 or 50 years of ways we necessarily didn't know how to do it in a healthier way.
Yeah. Yeah. And that has me also thinking of spiritual practices. Like that's a spiritual practice to read that in the mornings. Like so today I had I don't normally have a day like this where I had like a class, like a virtual class and a Zoom and then, my regular work, and it was just one thing after another. And so I was feeling just like all this adrenaline, and not like good adrenaline. Not that anything bad happened, but not like I was feeling like this,
Overwhelmed.
huh?
Overwhelmed.
Yeah. I think just like angst or maybe overwhelmed is the right word. It was a lot, it was a lot. And I like to be like this. And so I put on, there's some music that I like that I call Zen music. And, I just put that music on during my activities, after I was done with all of that. And everything I was doing, because I know that music calms me, and it calms my nervous system and it brings me back. And so that's a spiritual practice. There's different things, that I think that whatever works for, the individual person, I think that, it's good for people to focus on, what resonates for me and can bring me back from the stress that I might be under or the worry that I might have that might have me lose perspective about something.
Right. Not that I need any spiritual practice right now. I'm not anxious. This is fun and lovely. But I often I've got this little stone here. I've got many on my altar, but I just pulled one before we talked, mostly to keep me grounded. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to, hold stones or crystals a lot. And that is another spiritual practice when you need it, because it's grounding. And
Yes.
so when you're talking about, the kind of day you had, you were like scattered,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you found your music and that pulled you back in and centered you and grounded you. For some people, I'm one of them. Something like this, just holding on to something,
Yes.
is just very centering
Yes.
for me. When you get pulled out because life takes you that way,
Yes,
I, I
exactly.
I find that something really easy to do. So I've got stones everywhere, in my purse, on my nightstand, in my office, everywhere. And
I
sometimes
love that.
I'll just grab it. It's like an adult security blanket, I guess.
And it's so pretty. What stone is that's got?
You know what? True confessions. I always forget what they're called. So I don't know. I don't know. I wish I did. I'll take a picture of it after we're done, because Google will probably tell me what
Yeah.
it is.
I'm
But
gonna
this is
get I
one of my
first of
favorite ones.
first of all, I don't know what I'm talking about, but for some reason I wanted to say like tourmaline or something. I don't even think I'm saying the name right.
Tourmaline, yeah.
Tourmaline. Is it
Maybe I don't know, but I also just like the shape of it
it's
too.
pretty. It's
Not only
beautiful.
I like the color, but I like the shape. It's the perfect size for my hands. It's flat. Everybody resonate. People come to me all the time and say, "What stone can I use for anxiety?" or "What stone can I use for depression?" And I say, you know what? For me, I don't necessarily believe you look up the properties of a stone and, amethyst is for this, or amber is for this, or tourmaline is for that. I think you should go to a metaphysical store and look around and touch them and feel it and, ask the stone. And then, ask the stone, can you help me with my loneliness? What does that feel like in your body? There's an energy in it. So I feel connected, very connected to this stone. I guess that's what pet rocks were all about, though I wasn't into that stuff back, but I think there's something to it. And
Yeah.
look at kids. Like, I have kids coming into my office and they just go right there. It's like they connect to the natural,
Yeah.
intuitive energies of stones, rocks, and crystals. So there's something in there.
Well, that energy is real. That energy is so real. Years ago, I worked in a spiritual bookstore, and I could just literally feel the energy of all the stones collectively when I was in there.
I
Yeah.
believe it.
I want to talk about space a little bit. And what we didn't get to go into space in our conversation, so I could get a sense of
Let's go
where,
into space.
yes, we didn't get to go into space. Let's do it now, man.
Okay. Let's
So,
do it.
yeah. So what are some of your thoughts?
Well, that was the other profound, awakening I've had in the last couple of years, for me personally, is to go into space, because, again, like resistance, human beings don't like to give things space. We're very impatient. I want it now. I want the answer now. I need the new job now. I want the relationship now. Anything that makes us uncomfortable, it's like, make it go away. And there's something so beautiful about giving things space. Space is a real part of the process. It's like, in order to go from here to there, look, even if my hands, as I say that, what's in between my hands? Space. But we want to skip over all of that, and we lose so much value and gift in, and also it
Present.
expedites what you're trying to accomplish if you'll sit in that space, because everything happens in that space. Everything happens in that space. You think about seeds. You plant a seed,
Yeah.
and that seed is, you don't see it. It's buried underground. It doesn't seem like anything is happening, but everything is happening where you can't see it. That's where everything is birthed. And whatever it is that we're wanting to birth in our lives gets created in that space. So to be able to give things space and time to happen, not in our time, but in the natural cycles of time, is is where the movement and the flow comes from. So it's really, really important to be able to be at peace with the space. And again, just like the resistance, don't force it. If
Yeah.
something, so one of those things that has happened to me in my life is a relationship with somebody really close to me that I wasn't ready to let go of. She's a family member who I adore, but we were not connecting at all for a couple of years. And I tried to force it. I tried to get her to do what I thought she needed to do for herself, but she wasn't ready. And as a result of that, it was affecting our relationship because her not being ready was making it very difficult for me to have a relationship with her. And so I decided that I needed to pull back completely and not only give her space, because you don't have control over what other people are going to do. I was giving me the space because I had to let go of the expectations of the relationship and let go of my expectations of what I hoped she would figure out for herself. So I basically detached from the relationship for over a year with no intention except giving myself the space to let something else come in because there was too much trauma and drama and head games that was causing me so much pain and anxiety, and it wasn't helping the relationship either.
Yeah.
So I gave it that space. I gave me that space. And then guess what? Like, I don't know, it just happened just a few months ago, but she came around. She came around, and now we have a great relationship. Now, that wasn't my intention because you can't manipulate that. I didn't give it space going, all right, I'm going to give it space so she's
Yeah.
going to come around because I don't have any control over what she does. I only have control over what I do. I felt better immediately, way before things got better between us, because soon as I gave myself permission to detach and give this space to be whatever it was going to be, I felt lighter. And I know that that brought other things into my life because I was so, when we don't give things space, we don't give things time to develop and be created. We can't create anything new if we're still so focused on all of the other things that we're attached to and not letting go of. Giving something space is another way, I guess, of surrendering as well.
It is. It's so much. It's so much. Like everything you're saying, I'm so aligned with. It's allowing, it's presence,
Allowing, yeah.
it's grace and love. And I'm a person that I like my space, and people can take that the wrong way because they can think, they can feel offended and think it means something that it doesn't. And what it means is what you described about the seeds and what's going on underground. It's for me, I need time to be grounded. That's how I stay connected. That's how I process. That's how I feel whole. I need that. And so that's been misunderstood. And, it's been taken the wrong way. And it can, someone might try to control that, like you said, when really if you just give the grace and love, and space could mean 30 minutes, or it could mean a day or days. I mean, it's not a definitive thing. It just depends, on what's going on. And sometimes, going back to nature, sometimes I look outside during this time of year And I think, wow, if I hadn't lived as long as I'm living and I just looked at the trees right now, I would think that never would I see green again or colors again. Or, I would just think that this is it, you know, this is it. But things have a cycle and a season and they need time and space.
Yeah, and this is
Yeah.
this is the time of hibernation and going in and doing that reflection so things can grow again.
Yeah.
Like nature, there is a cycle, and we all know in the wintertime it's going to be like this. And
Yes.
but things will come back again and will blossom and will bloom. But we have to give ourselves that grace, to the grace for space. We we,
Yeah.
we have to do that, and we don't, because we get impatient. Um,
Yeah.
and it works against us. All of these things work against us. And so if we could just stop listening to the voices in our head and pay more attention to our bodies, and when our bodies, because the wisdom of our bodies will tell us when something doesn't feel right, stop doing it.
Right.
If you're getting those
Yeah.
heart palpitations or that tension in your stomach, your body's trying to tell you something's out of balance here. Ask it, what does it need? And sometimes it needs that space.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a wonderful thing. I was thinking while you were talking about that I didn't realize until just now that it's also, when I was talking about solitude before and feeling really good being home alone and enjoying that space, I never used to. It used to feel like heavy, empty, lonely. Like space could feel like a void and a dark hole that you can fall into. Sometimes people don't want the space. That's why, do you know anybody? I'm sure you know a lot of people that, like, they've got to be busy all the time.
Yeah.
Like I know people that do more in one day than I do in a week. No kidding. Like, from one activity to another, to another, to another. Like, hi, what did you do today? Well, I did, first I went to church, and then I went and I walked 5 miles, and then I went to the hospital to visit a friend, and then I went and like 6 things in one day. And I'm like, well, I did one thing, and then I came home. I mean, we all have our own rhythms, and that's fine. But too much of anything, too much of space isn't good, and too much of no space isn't good either. We're all
Exactly.
looking for that balance somewhere.
Exactly. And that's just getting to know yourself, because I have been where I felt very alone and I have been where, I need my space. But it's for me to understand, okay, I do want companionship. And it's also for me to understand my own needs.
Mhm.
And, so it's very important I think, for us to be in tune, as we're in tune with our bodies, in tune with our feelings. And that's loving ourselves, getting to know ourselves the way we would want to get to know somebody else that we care about.
And ultimately, if we are wanting a relationship, I think there's no way of getting one that's really worthwhile if you haven't figured that out first.
So true. So true. And something I wanted to bring up also about space is holding space.
Yeah.
I often think about, just as an example, there's a gazillion examples, but let's say someone is sick and they're not conscious and everyone is worried about them, and they're worried that they're not going to wake up, just as an example. I think that it's important that someone is holding space for them to wake up, to allow for that to happen, and I know that this is up to a power greater than us, but I still think that it's very important to hold that space or for someone to come through a challenge. Maybe other people don't have faith in that person coming through a challenge, but somebody's holding space that they're going to make it through.
I I don't know where I just read it. Yes, I agree with you 1,000%. But I just read something somewhere that was so beautiful. It was a story about a woman who lost her son to suicide, and she lost all of her faith. And as much as her friends and family were trying to help her, regain it, she just couldn't. She just couldn't. And she said to somebody who had asked her, "What can I do for you?" She said, "I don't have much faith right now, but I know you do. So if you could hold space for me and you can have faith for me, that would be," I'm getting chills as I'm saying this to you. She said, "That would be great." So it was like she still understood faith. She just wasn't there where she could reach down or up high enough to grab it, but she knew enough that she had it in the past and hoped that she could get it in the future, that she just asked her loved ones, "Hold space for me. You have faith. I can't." And I thought that that was so beautiful.
It is.
And it goes to what you're saying, if, holding the space for somebody who can't, is going through some sort of healing situation, and they can't do it themselves. They need other people around them to help them do that healing. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That is really a beautiful story and so true. So true. And I think of it also in terms of time because, I we we define time in the way that we define time. And so like today is Thursday, and let's say I'm thinking about Saturday, and I'll think, well, instead of thinking of hours or days, I'll just think, well, there's just space between here and there. It really is the same space, but if it's just space between this point and what I might want to do at that point, it's just space.
It's just space. I heard somebody once say it a long time ago, there's only two times, now and not now. And there's nothing that you could do about the not now. So you might as well just focus on the now. It's true though. It's like,
Yeah.
come back to that present time right
Yeah.
now.
Absolutely. Yeah, that has me thinking about patience, which I can run short on patience sometimes where I'll do things too quickly. And my adult nephew will point it out, like, you just do things too fast. Like just calm down, just take it easy. And instead of it, I'm not focusing on the now. I'm not focusing on the now.
It's another, I guess I could call this a spiritual practice, because if you so I once took I'm a certified life coach, and I took a course once, and somehow we got talking about our to-do lists, and how we're never satisfied. We always go 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 go, got to do all the time. And um somebody in my class said, I don't have a to-do list. I have a to-da list." We were like, "Well, what's a to-da list?" And she said, "Well, you have a to-do list, and let's say you have 10 things on your to-do list, and you get 6 of them done, but you're not happy about the 6 things you got done. You can't even give yourself some credit for that. You don't feel peace at all or any of it. You still feel the anxiety of, I still have to get these other things done." She goes, forget about that. I get one thing done and I go, ta-da!
I love it.
And what that does is it changes everything that you feel inside.
Yeah.
Instead of like do, because you're putting that energy out there. So you're putting that anxiety and that rush. Like sometimes I think people have fender benders because you got all of this excess energy and something's trying to slow you down
Yeah.
and wake you up.
Yeah.
And so I kind of made a commitment right after that class, like, okay, because I'm one of those people. I used to not be able to go to sleep if I didn't have the laundry done and put away. There couldn't be a glass in the sink. Everything, I couldn't relax unless everything was, neat, tidy, and organized. And so I started to make myself like leave the house with dishes in the sink or laundry in the dryer, just to put myself in that uncomfortable position so I could learn how to calm down and change the dialogue and like it's not a big deal. It's just a bunch of laundry in the dryer. So whenever I get to a place where let's say it's something as simple as going to the grocery store, but I'm tired and I've had a long day. And, do I really need to check it off my to-do list, or can I wait till tomorrow to get the avocados?
Yeah.
And so now I do the opposite of what I used to do, which is I used to go to the store and whatever was on the list, I'd have to check off. Now I'm like, I don't need it anymore. And what I've noticed that happens is not only do I feel more peaceful about it, and sometimes things just naturally come off the list, but here we go. There's more space.
Exactly.
There's more space. So I don't have to worry about what's on the to-do list or the laundry or the avocados. It doesn't even enter into my mind to, not take it off the list or think about it at all. But other things just flow in to my life that the answers of other things just show up and make it so much easier. That's the thing about when you let go of control and you give life more space, life will meet you. The universe will co-create with you. We don't have to make it so hard. And things just show up instead of us having to do it.
Yeah. That's the key, I think, to what you just said, is just the letting go. It releases and things happen. The universe will bring something else. And we were talking earlier about relationships, and with this person that I was getting frustrated with, that we were in a relationship a long time ago. And I said, I want this person to honor me in a certain way that I define honoring me, that is specific to our relationship that I've made up. Right. And so me being frustrated with him about that and not letting that go. And I haven't communicated this, to him. This is all inside me, is blocking, or was blocking, me from meeting someone who can honor me.
Yeah, it was. Because
Yeah.
you're putting all your expectations on him to do something that you needed to do.
Or frustration. Yeah. Frustration, because I wasn't saying, after I knew this wasn't going to happen, I wasn't like forcing the issue. I was just annoyed about it. But that annoyance is energy and holding on to something that's not going to happen. It wouldn't make me happy anyway. And so letting that go is allowing for something greater, even greater than what I want.
So this relationship's been over for a while?
Yeah. Yes. It's been over for a couple of years, but we've known each other for over 20 years. Yeah.
So what was the real message for you?
The real message
in the relationship?
I know that for years I thought this person was the one. And so the real message for me is, as much as I love him as a person and as a human being and a man, he's not the one for me. That I know that. I know that. And that doesn't mean that I don't have a desire to be honored in a certain way as a result of our past. And so it was about, you know what? Let that go. Let it go. Because it doesn't change my love for him as a person and as a friend. Just let it go. I don't want that anyway, you know?
Yeah. We always get what we want, but it doesn't come in the packages the way, that we think
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah. But in no way do I want that relationship now, or do I even envision that working now if I wanted it to work now?
Hmm.
It's just something that I had wanted for so long in my life, and then I had let it go. We weren't in touch for 10 years. And then he came back and then it didn't work out. And so that was 2 years ago. Well, now 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago. Yeah.
Did that conversation of honor ever show up, even 10 years later?
Um, I brought that up. This is the reason why it was frustrating me recently, because we were talking on the phone and I had brought that up. And I said, you know what? You could do this, not having to do with us in a relationship, just something he could do, And I said, you could do this. You never did this. And you could do this and this. And that would honor me. And so he was resistant. He was resistant to it. And then, it just didn't happen.
But
It
good
didn't
for you
happen.
for speaking, because I think it's not always 100%, but for me to fully let something go, oftentimes there needs to be a conversation. That's
Mhm.
not always possible. Um, and sometimes people don't feel safe doing it. But there's a lot of energy that gets released when you speak and express your needs. It's not from the perspective of saying you've done something wrong or blame or judgment, or certainly expecting that that person is going to say, oh, you're right, Adrianne, I'll honor you. Yes,
Yeah,
it's not. It's solely to express and release your feelings, because you deserve to feel the way that you feel. It's okay. And you have to know that and honor yourself.
exactly.
And that's the only reason to express those things. So you can tell yourself, I deserve this. And the way you're treating me, not okay.
And not only that I want this, because let's say I think we had the conversation in late December, and a couple of weeks or a week before that or the day before that, I wasn't thinking about this. It was something that came up organically in a conversation that we were having. And
Hmm.
so after that, I realized this is important to me. This is important to me in a relationship,
Hmm.
among other things, but I want someone because I certainly am going to honor someone that I love,
Hmm.
whether it's a relationship or a family member. So I want to be honored, and I wouldn't have known that the day before. So me even expressing that, to your point, was helping me to understand this is important to me, and introduce that, that thing, to my spirit and my consciousness, really, because it was in my subconscious.
Right. Well, and I love that because it goes to everything that we're talking about. You planted that seed, it organically came up, and it took 10 years of space. And then it blossomed. Then it showed up for you to have that conversation.
Right.
It was always there. You always wanted to be honored. It was part of the reason why the relationship didn't work out. You let it
Exactly.
go, you moved on with your life, whatever, he did his, but then it showed up again because it's still there, because there was still more.
Mm.
It didn't the seed didn't, break ground for you to be able to see it and go, "Oh yeah, I want to be honored." And so you put that out into the universe. He was just the catalyst of it, right? But
Mhm.
you weren't really just speaking it to him. You were speaking it to the universe. So whenever that next relationship comes in, it's like, oh, now that's part of the mix. It's part of your consciousness now. You've done
Mhm.
the work, and now you know, and the universe knows, I need to be honored.
Mhm.
He may not be the one to do that, but he is the one that got you to see it.
Right. Right. That's very true and so beautifully put, you know, so clear. So clear. Well, Mindy, you got to come back again.
Anytime, anytime. I
Um,
love it.
sh- Share with people how they can reach you.
Oh, sure. So my website is Mindy Strich, STRICH.com. That's probably the easiest way. My phone number's there, my email is there. And I'm really excited because starting in February, I just subletted one of the rooms in my office to a sound healer. Her name is Carmen, and she's going to be coming and joining me. And we haven't made any plans yet, but we're going to do some collaborative energy healing and sound healing sessions together. So that's going to
Oh,
be a whole lot of fun. And yeah.
wow. And will those be just with your clients, or will that be something that you might open it up to like maybe 10 people or 5 people? So,
Yeah, we're going to do little group sessions and individual sessions as well. And just another note, next time we talk, maybe I could talk more about this, but I just signed a publishing deal with a friend of mine, and I well, we wrote the book 2 years ago, but again, space, time, process,
yes,
all of those
yes.
things. But I wrote a children's book on the chakras.
You're
And
kidding.
so we're getting it illustrated, and we're getting it published, and we made a commitment. We put it out there. We're holding ourselves accountable. So we signed the contract, and hopefully in the next few months we'll have a children's book, like 5 to 7 years old, to teach them about the chakra system. So
Oh, I
I'm really
definitely want to
excited
talk
about
about
that.
that.
That'll be
Congratulations.
great. I'll get Kathy. Maybe we could do one with Kathy, my co-author, as well. Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
so excited about that. My granddaughter was kind of the muse of that. I have this beautiful painting. I'll send you a picture of it. That one of my friends, who's a wonderful artist, painted on a mural on my front wall in my townhouse, and it's 7 chakra ladies, each one representing a different chakra. And when my granddaughter was about 3 or 4 years old, she was very taken by this picture. And I started, telling her about it and teaching her about it. And every time she'd come to my house, she'd want to hear more about the chakra ladies, and she'd go to my altar and she'd grab my stones, and she was very interested in it. And so I love teaching her about it. Like when she would get anxious, I would say, put your hand on your heart chakra. What color is it? And she'd say green. And we talk about how she feels. And then one day, I just realized, why am I just teaching this to her? Hey, and teach this to kids.
That sounds very divine. It really does.
So yeah, but see, those are the kind of things I wasn't thinking about it. It just showed up and became something fun and exciting. I didn't have to do the work.
Mm-mm.
And then as I was saying it to my friend, she's like, "Oh my God, like my friend is very talented in graphic art and all of the technical things that I'm not." And so we make a really good team. Like that book would have never been what it's become if not for Kathy.
Oh.
And so just me sharing my excitement about this, she's like, "I want to do this with you." I'm like, "Really? Okay."
Because you would need an illustrator for a children's book.
And
Is she the illustrator?
no, she
No?
does a lot of research. Like I give up very quickly. Like if it's going to take too much work and energy, it's not my thing. I'm good at marketing it and talking about it and getting the people to buy it and doing all that stuff. She was into like, how do you sell it on Amazon? What's the best way to write a children's book? How does it need to be laid out? How many pages does it need to be? All of that stuff, putting it all together because she's got a background in all of, the social media and graphic art and all of that. I would have given up a long time ago. But she loves doing that stuff.
This
And
is
I love
super.
like, well, let's get it published and then I'll go talk to the schools and everybody else and I'll get us in there. Like that's more where I'm more,
Right.
more excited about doing that stuff. So yeah, so now it looked, again, everything grows in the dark because a year ago I would have thought it was dead. We both got on to different things and nothing was happening with it. And then a few months ago, she just said to me, I've been working on the book. I'm like, "You have?" I had no idea. And she's like, "Yeah, we're almost done. Do you still want to publish it?" I'm like, "Yeah." And so let me show you what I did. And when she showed me everything she put in Canva and what this book looked like, I literally started to cry. I'm like, "Oh my God, why didn't you tell me about this? This is great. We're done. Let's just have a meeting and get it done." And she goes, "I found the publisher. I found everything." I'm like, "God bless you." So yeah, it's very exciting.
It is. Congratulations.
Thank you. So
Congratulations. That
maybe
is
the next one, I'll tell Kathy we need to do a podcast about
absolutely. I would love that.
it.
I would love that.
That
Thank you so
that'd be
much,
great.
Mindy.
Thank you, darling. Go get yourself honored. This has been an honor.
For me too. Thank you. Wasn't that a fun episode? Thank you for listening to the end. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and like the episode. Please share Let's Start Healing with at least one person that you know. And until next time, let's start healing.